Morning, Margaret.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the July meeting of the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council. Thanks for joining us in this slight cool down before the next significant heat wave. With that in mind, let's go ahead and stand and face the flag at the back for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, just that morning housekeeping. Make sure that you sign the roster or check in with Carrie to make sure we capture our attendance, particularly for the board members. Item number 4, approval of the agenda. Everyone should have received a copy. I believe there's some on the back table as well. Looking at the board, any comments, corrections for the agenda? Okay, hearing and seeing none. All those board members in favor of approving today's agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, agenda approved. Item 5, consent agenda, the minutes from the June 21st meeting of the Fire Safe Council. Everyone again should have received a copy in your board packet. Any comments, changes, or edits to the minutes from last month? Okay, not hearing or seeing any comments online. All board members in favor of approving the minutes from the June meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, minutes are approved as presented. At this point, I have no new business on the calendar, nor do we have any old business that we've brought forward. Certainly, we can add some things in there if folks want to do that as we progress through the meeting. So item 8, information. Chris.
As a possible new business, there was some gentleman that went through George Turnbull's office. I connected with them. They have a door card that's really heavy duty with reverse sides that they asked if they could have some time. I told them possibly that we could fit them in. I thought maybe they were coming today, which would have been good. That it looks like maybe next month.
Why don't you have them reach
about that system, that card?
I have, yes.
Okay, so you're familiar with it?
Yes. Why don't you have them reach out to me offline?
Obviously, you haven't been contacted, so
yes.
Just wanted to let you know, though.
All right, thank you, Chris. Okay, item 8, chair's report. I do have a couple of things I wanted to cover today. One is thank you for those that are submitting the Title III project notifications. If folks remember, I put out an email shortly after last meeting. We have up to $2,500 per council available for community chipping or green waste days, I should say, for each associate council. And all I'm really looking for there is just notification from any of the associate councils if you're planning to use that. And I'm logging that and we'll keep track of that so Janet can keep that on the budget. Currently, I've received feedback from 6 fire safe councils: Texas Hill, Strawberry, Ockham Fairplay, Rancho del Sol, Auburn Lake Trails, and Logtown. Have all indicated they're interested in we'll be doing that. And again, there's no deadline to send me a note. At the end of the day, we just need to have the projects completed by basically this time next year. And I think I put that all in the email. So as you think of that or plan those, just send me a note and we'll add you to the list so we can track that. I think this was a good opportunity to circle back on a couple of things of sort of progress to date. And you and I were chatting a bit last night. We're halfway through the year. Time goes by fast. We've just completed elections. And, we'll already be talking the holidays. I did go to Costco this week and there's Halloween decorations up because there's like this 40-foot witch in there and the kids were screaming, running away. So it's just timing is the year is slipping on, and I didn't want that to happen without sort of a mid-year sort of pulse check on everything that we've been doing and are working on. And when you kind of look back, there's a lot happening, and we're all tending to focus on the things that aren't working that we're trying to get done, and you tend to forget sort of where you've come on all of that. And so I think it's just important to look back at it. I was just putting a list together. I mean, we've completed the defensible space training for 70 individuals, and that, as you know, wasn't just putting on the training, it was developing all of that and really leading the charge around and on behalf of the state, many others around. So that was a huge accomplishment, and we know we have more to do. We'll be coming out with some tracking information and how we want to engage everyone in that process. But if you think about just last year, we were working with CAL FIRE, and we were able to put together a 1 or 2 hour course. Now we've taken this to a 2-day, very comprehensive interagency, inter-organization, collaborative approach to it. And I think that we just can't forget that's a huge accomplishment that we're going to benefit from, and many others. Looking at the projects that are coming into play, we've talked about $14 million, or now I think it's closer to 15 in the budget, with the additional monies coming from the Air Quality Management District and others. But we're managing a large budget and a large number of projects, and many of those projects, thanks in large part to the associate councils and the Resource Conservation District and others, we're trying to get work done, or projects are starting to happen on the ground. South County, the Divide, and we know that because lots of the bills are starting to come due and invoices, and the workload's going up there. But what that means is that the work's happening, and this money that's there is being used and put to work on the ground, and accomplishments are being made and getting right of entry agreements. There's a lot of things going on by all of you out there on the ground that not everyone sees every day. And I know it can get taxing, it can get frustrating, because it's like one ROE at a time. It's like you're climbing this hill. But it's happening, and there's a lot that we're supporting collectively to get work done, and it's starting to really happen. We have 30 fire safe councils, and obviously with the administrative challenges that comes with, the more important piece is the grassroots effort that indicates that's going on. And so we will continue to find the ways to, as we evolve, to support all of that grassroots effort. But that tells me there's still a strong interest, alive and well, in our county to engage community by community and area by area. 3 fire safe council programs, pretty much the front line of delivery for our fire safe council: the community chipping program, the defensible space for seniors, veterans, and low income, and now the hazardous tree removal. Recognizing we started off the year with the website challenges, the program challenges, the application challenges, we had weather issues, we had contractor challenges, getting folks scheduled, just lots of things that sort of put everything sort of came to a head all at once. And now, and when Jessica's here, she can report on the status, but we're seeing record amounts of participation in the defensible space program. The chipping program continues to accelerate and move through, and we're still working on getting the first jobs done on the ground for the hazard tree program. However, there are a number of applications in process with the contractor, but we're spending record amounts of money. We've had record amounts of funding for those programs, and it's off and it's sort of into its battle rhythm, if you will. And again, Jessica can report on that as it relates to where we're going. But that's huge in terms of where we started, where folks like Ernie and others sort of built these on a shoestring, and now their concept is coming really into fruition. You don't all see it because it's happened a lot behind the scenes, and it's been a very frustrating process for all of us. But the website rebuild is happening. We've been successful in moving all of the hosting of that from the DreamHost vendor over to Lanatech, which is the web design company that the council has been in contract with or been using for a number of years. They are now managing all of that. A lot of delays behind the scenes because we were working on trying to get the 3 program applications working. And while folks may see the front end, the back end it's a bit of a cumbersome process making the applications work and do the right reporting requirements, capturing the data, and notifying the contractors about jobs. So there was a lot of work that had to be done behind the scenes to try to fix all of that. And unfortunately, it was all happening right as the peak of our, defensible space season was ramping up. But not that there aren't still bumps and going as we go forward day to day, but there are those programs are significantly increased over. I'm just looking at the Sergeant Slag indicating he wasn't able to hear. Can you hear us, Sergeant Slag, now? How about anybody else? I just want to get a raise of hands. Can folks hear us okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So bottom line is we continue to work on now the second phase of the website, which is the design and the look of the website and the information that's going to be there, all of that. And it's well underway with the vendor. The Carrie, Jessica, members of the executive board and others have been working with the website group to get this sort of mocked up and done. And so we're looking at a design here in the next week or two that we hope we can start getting shared out there. It'll be a work in progress, and we obviously will want the feedback, but it'll be a very different look than what it's had in the past as we go forward to support what we're doing. I think, and it really goes to Alice's efforts and many others in this room, but we did a second fair, El Dorado County Fair in partnership with our partners this year. And while we're always learning things, again, really, I think, set an example for our communities that we are represented together at the fair. We've been adding staff support. I think, between Jessica and Carrie, we're learning how they can do their jobs as the responsibilities are morphing. We didn't expect the programs to be expanding as fast as they did. And so that's really becoming Jessica's full-time operation. And Carrie's been backing her up on that. And then now adding Tamara as our grants coordination and grants manager. That's huge. And so going forward, I think we'll keep coming back to the board to talk about what other needs are. I think fiscally, and Maureen was experiencing this too, and Janet it's just the treasurer responsibility is growing significantly. And we, over time, have to talk about what we want to do. Do we need some bookkeeping support? Do we need some help processing checks and doing all those things that are generating a lot of time and effort? And I think we'll spend some more time down the road talking about that. But really happy with the office space and how everything's being put together with where we've moved the office to and the storage of facilities. And I will leave it to Tom Meyer at the Office of Wildfire Preparedness when he gives his report. But our engagement with the bigger efforts in this county with the CWPP and the strategy and online mapping tool that's being developed. There are a lot of things that are happening that we are a part of that are, will be coming out here, in the coming months that we'll see a lot of change and, taking things sort of the next level in the county. So I really just wanted to spend a couple of minutes reminding all of us how much we've done and how much we continue to do, no matter how challenging it can feel and be sometimes. And that's really a credit to everybody in the room who are working really hard to stay engaged and get things done. Oh yeah, Hughes reminded me because no day can go by without talking about the Defensible Space Ordinance. So, and that's really probably more, God forbid we don't talk about the space ordinance. But yes, that's huge, and that's probably something to, it's really being led by the coordination group and Tom's program at OWOPR, but Hugh and Ron and others have been deeply engaged in that from the beginning. And that should be hopefully going to the Board of Supervisors here later this summer or fall. And it was really, to me, less about the rewrite of the language in the county's ordinance and more about what it meant as this team in this working group worked for the last year on not just the language, but what does it mean to do defensible space in El Dorado County? And it was way beyond an ordinance. It was all about this partnership and the education and the home hardening components and all these pieces that come together and how we deliver that in partnership with Firewise communities and fire safe councils and others, and going forward, what that might look like. So again, huge accomplishment. And I think the way it was done this time with this ordinance was completely different than how it was approached when it first came out. And I think that's, again, the credit to great folks that have been part of this from the beginning. So in any event. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to Hugh for the vice chair's report. Now, I've already covered defensible space. Hugh, so I don't have to talk.
I was so looking forward to that. No, a couple things. First of all, as far as me, I attended all the regular meetings and same stuff. I don't need to go into that. The list is just getting longer. But also, I just want to let everybody know, you probably saw when you come in and signed in, there's boxes of our workbooks in the back on the table. Take as many of those as you want. Some of you have asked for a box or two. I have those for you separate. So see me after the meeting. I'll get them to you. Also, last meeting, I mentioned that in putting that book together, we had the help of a guy named Johnny Valenzuela. And I just want to let you know that he is here today. He's trying to squeak under the table right now, but he is here. So Johnny, if you just raise your hand so everybody knows what you're doing. I just want to let you know Johnny's here. Why he's here today is because after the meeting, he and I and Jeff Hogue are going to have lunch. I've asked Johnny if he would consider becoming part of our outreach group because of his background and all the type of work that he does. It's all part of that. And he's agreed. Well, he hasn't totally agreed yet. I have to buy him lunch first. But yeah, he's agreed to help us out in our outreach. And I think it's going to be a huge, there's going to be all kinds of things happening there. So thank you, Johnny. I'll talk to you later about that. We are also, many of you know, we talked about in the e-board, and Ken and I have talked about putting together what we an education committee within the Fire Safe Council. And Ron and all the folks that taught the defensible space class, we've all talked about it, and that's sort of the core, would be the core of that. But I want to open it up for anybody else that's on Fire Safe Council or whatever that would like to be part of that group to get in touch with me, and we'll make you, you can become part of that. We haven't sat down, we're not, any regular meetings or anything like that yet. We're just kind of putting it together. But there are people here I know who have special skills and things that I think would be helpful there. So we're looking for that. And on that vein, we have decided we're going to start putting together like quarterly classes starting in September. And the class will be an hour to 2 hours. And they will be after this meeting. In other words, the third Wednesday of September is the first one, but they'll be quarterly. Will be a class. You break from here, go to lunch, come back, and be for an hour or 2 hours, depending on what the class is. And Alice has agreed to do the first one in September, and I'll let her talk more about that when it's her turn to talk. But again, if you're interested in becoming part of that group, we look forward. If you have that skill, please let us know. We'd like you to join that. So that's going to happen. Also, assessments. I don't know how many of you are out doing assessments now after the class. I've been out doing a few. I had the pleasure yesterday, actually, of going over to help Fort Jim. Fort Jim had one that some folks over there that were interested, went over and spent time with them and with Mark Spellin, who took the class. So he accompanied me, and he and I were able to work together and do that assessment. It was really good. And there's some other folks over there that are interested. And in that light, and I've done some in Texas Hill, and I'm sure some of you have done some in your areas. And in that light, we've talked about a reporting of that so that we can keep track of how many of those have been done. As you know, those of you who took the class, you know, first of all, you put in a lot of time on your own, 2 full days. The Fire Safe Council put up a fair amount of money. You know, it wasn't, you guys eat a lot. But we put out a fair amount of money to do that. And we just want to make sure that, you know, we continue and do something with that. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So, you know, we want to start keeping track monthly of what each Fire Safe Council has done. Some of you will say, I haven't done any this month. That's fine. But other months you'll have done some, but we want to start keeping track of that. And Carrie created a form that has all the Fire Safe Councils on it and each month across. And I think Ken and I had talked about that a little bit yesterday. I want to make sure we're all still on the same page. This will go out in like before this meeting, a copy to everybody. So you can then fill that out and then send that back to Carrie. And that way we can keep track of the one that you'll get will have everybody's stuff on it. So if you didn't do any, everybody's going to know it. So I don't, no fair faking them in. You gotta do it. But anyway, that way we'll be able to keep track. You'll be able to do that, send that back to Carrie, and then she'll be able to help keep track of how we do. So we'll be able to see how we're doing as time goes by. So I think I have that. I think I got that right. So that's all I have.
And just to kind of follow up on that, I'll put out an email with the list attached with some instructions. And it's really simple. It's just how many did Occam Fair Play do in January, February, you know, every month. And what I'd like to do is, and I'll put the date on there, but I would like it to go out with the board packet when I send it out. So if I get your tallies by, you know, the Friday before, and we'll put this in an email, then I can populate that and we can all see where we're at. And if folks need help getting some done, then we can start, you know, fostering communication between the associate councils. But I just think as you said, we've made this huge investment. You all have made this huge investment. And we just want to see how we can better support it and see what's getting done out on the ground and honestly be able to share our story with others. So that'll be coming out. I did want to follow up on what you said. Folks are attending meetings outside of this meeting as well. Hugh's been part of the Fire Prevention Officers Association, representing us for a long time. I want to thank Steve Willis, who has been filling in for us for quite a while with the Fire Chiefs Association here in the county. I'm going to step in and pick that up starting next week. So I'll be participating with the county fire chiefs at their periodic meeting. And again, that occurs next week, and it's a positive report out on our Fire Safe Council activities. Participated with the Sheriff's Office 2 weeks ago on the Disaster Council meeting. So we are a standing report there. So again, and others are participating in different meetings. Alice is participating in the public outreach working group. And so I think others I'm just not thinking about or forgetting, but there's a lot of working kind of to make sure we're participating in other meetings around the county to stay current. And now Tamara, certainly in her role, is running around doing a lot of things in different places. So just know all of that is happening behind the scenes. So 8C, Secretary Report, Karen.
Yeah, the only thing that I have is most of the councils, I believe, have all done their elections already. So I'm going to be sending out an officer contact information list. It'll look like this. It'll have all of these councils and their officers on it. If you can just review it and let me know if there's any changes in either the officers or especially the emails, because I'm sometimes add a letter when I shouldn't or take one out when I shouldn't. So if you'll double check the names of your officers and their email addresses, I would appreciate that, because different board, executive board members use it for different purposes. So that's all I think I have.
Thank you, Karen. So next up, D, Treasurer's Report, Janet.
I want all of the associate councils
who have submitted their profit and loss statements. I think there's only one or two outstanding, and they're waiting for me to get them some information on how to handle a particular transaction. So everyone was very responsive this year, and I want to thank all of you for that. Makes it a lot easier for me not to have to track everybody down. So thank you. Please thank your treasurers if they're not here today. Following up on Ken's opening about all the things that have happened in the current year. I just wanted to follow up, and Jessica will be reporting on a number of jobs, but for the month of June and June alone, we spent $62,000 on shipping and $33,000 on V-Space. So almost $100,000 went out on making our community safer. And I think that that's just a real testament to the program that we are running, even with the difficulties we have with the website, even with the logistics of getting all of this done. This was the highest month of activity in terms of invoicing that I've seen since I've been here. So just thank you for pushing the program. It's working, and Tamara, we need more money.
Suddenly.
For the treasurers, the treasurer's report came out this month. It looks a little bit different. Ken had a discussion with me and with David Zielinski about the broader balance sheet, profit and loss, and income statement. Those reports are available. If you want them, please let me know. I will send them to you individually. But the board packet was getting too unwieldy for Ken to send out to everybody. And so it was more important to get the contextual stuff for the board packet out. But that information is available. Just let me know if you're interested in it. I will send it to you. David, I will send it to you monthly regardless. So
Thank you.
this month's treasurer's report. I mean, here. This will be the final report for 22-23 for expenditures. So you can see on this report that we basically we were over by quite a bit in some of our line items, and the new proposed budget for 23-24, which was also included in the board packet, amended some of the line items for those amounts. So we'll be starting with the new budget for next reporting. But overall, we spent 63% of our proposed budget in total. And part of that is because we had overestimated our costs for our administrative services, because we're billing primarily most of Jessica's time and some of Carrie's time to individual grants. On the projects page, there is a formula error at the bottom on the total grant amounts. Thank you, David. That has corrected for next month. But if you look at the bottom green line, where it reports the total cash expended, instead of 1.2 million, that should be 1.4 million, and I've corrected that for next month. Other than that, any questions on the treasurer's report?
David?
Jen, will we get a copy of the audit report comes out?
I already sent that out. It's up on the website.
Yes.
Mhm.
That is, okay, thanks. Oh, the audit, it's already done?
The auditor's report?
Yeah, for June 30th?
No, that's, sorry. The auditor's report is done. The accountant's report is not done yet.
Okay,
I thought you were talking the audit
Yeah.
that we did with,
so is there audited?
we had an audit this year for 21-22.
Okay, let's try again. Well, when will the accountant's report for fiscal year be done?
I don't know. I have to, as soon as she's finished with our taxes. So,
Okay,
yeah,
that's right. We don't get audited all the time.
right,
No.
right.
All right, so, and then you'll show us the, accountant's
Yeah.
report when it comes out.
Yes, let's have the final tax return that includes our balance sheet. Yes.
That'd be great, thank you.
Okay, any questions, comments on the treasury report as presented? Okay, all those in favor of approving the treasurer's report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposition? All right, treasurer's report approved. Thank you, Janet. Okay, next up, partners reports. First off, it's BLM. I don't see BLM online, or I'm just scanning the room. I don't think we have BLM today. But item 2, we do have CAL FIRE. I saw them. There is Megan.
Some.
Yes, good morning, Megan. Questions for Megan? Oh, all right. Megan got off easy today. Okay, next up, item 3, Tom Meyer, representing the El Dorado County Office of Wildfire Preparedness and Resilience. Welcome, Tom. Oh, yeah, sorry, we need to.
Tom Meyer with the
Hang on a sec. There we go. Thanks, Rich.
opposite. Here. Okay, also. Who's? Mountain Frost or somewhere. I'm excited. It's great from the town.
Yeah.
Go ahead and speak. Space and stuff there. So it'll be.
They're not having trouble hearing.
It's all kind of forward.
That we should get thrown.
We get the. Certified. Fine tune or develop our program going forward. Next up is the wildfire strategy. So I'm not going to take any credit, but that's the coordinating group. Also, large part Janet worked on one. So we're in the final draft stage now. We're looking to take up the board of supervisors later in August. For that and get feedback and approval, and then give a brief presentation, just the water program in general, updates of projects and progress, and just kind of an update of the work plan related to that wildfire strategy. I've also been working on the defensible space ordinance revision, as Ken mentioned. Pretty close on that. We've got a final draft that will be sent out very soon for final stakeholder review. And as I mentioned, looking to get the county board of supervisors for public hearings in the fall. I'd like to shoot it for sometime in October. Could be short calendar. We're also working on the community wildfire protection plan, and we've got a draft scope prepared. So reviewing that, going through final scoping, and then the next step will be to put that out to and then select a consultant to start working on that project. But that's going to take a lot of engagement from different fire station councils. So we're looking forward to getting that going. Probably about a year long timeline on that. The Weber Creek project, which is the project funded through the LOES and EMAT Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. and one of the 5 pilot programs for us to pay for the comfortable space and home hardening. It looks like the tentative award date is coming up in about next month and a half. So things are starting to ramp up with that one quickly. The first step will be doing the EHP client review and getting all the parcels cleared before we can start on that. We'll be meeting with LOBS and I believe a FEMA representative next week to have the initial pre-award project kickoff meeting to discuss reporting requirements, product scoping, all that good stuff. So once and then one or certain areas always time. One close. One down. Ready. Closing site.
Hey, we have to go. That's all you want. All right, let's start at the end there with Chris.
If you give us a little one. Where you're from, kind of a bit of experience. In terms of knowing you, getting more personal. Yeah, absolutely.
Or their accounting team. After that, I moved up to building C. For quite a few years, but at the time of the community development agency. So I spent about 2.5 years there, analyst in their contracts group. So preparing and working with departments on a variety of contracts. For planning and building, well, development services at the time, transportation and environmental management, so wide variety of projects. After that, I moved about 4 cubicles down to environmental management, so gathered a lot of experience there, working directly with the director, a variety. Most recently, I was with the planning and building department under their economic development division. And handle basically everything administratively for the department. So budget, contracts, short end ordinance revisions, all the really behind the scenes stuff. So.
Just to follow up then, you're more of an administrator, manager, supervisor. So you're relying on your staff, I assume. That's why this gentleman to your left is so important to you personally and also to the county. Can you speak to the gentleman to your left?
Yeah, I was actually give him an opportunity as well to introduce himself, give a little bit of his background, but yeah, like you said, relying heavily on my staff. They have well knowledge and experience in everything wildfire preparedness. So hopefully kind of behind the scenes and let them take over.
Thank you, Tom.
Do we have any other? Was it? All right, okay.
Yeah.
the education. So my entire background is fire and fire in Delaware County. I've been on too many fires here, so I know how fire behaves at first in the area, which really is helping me talk to homeowners and really kind of gives them a good idea of what they need to do to really prepare their homes and prepare for loved ones. Besides that, I worked for Cal Fire for a season as well, doing B-Space. Worked out on the hills doing B-Space, and now I'm here, the county level doing B-Space. Really excited, looking forward to working with you guys again. Thank you.
Well, so I think I just want to reiterate, Tom and Richie coming into this program is such a significant step forward. Tom brings the skill set and organizational ability and knowledge of the county programs that is going to take that office into a place where it hasn't been. It needs to get it to the next level, and the ability to navigate and work with the partner agencies within county government, the understanding processes for, again, we're about to go out with, a call for proposal or request for quotes, a process for, getting the kind of CWPP that the county's embracing that, but it has to be our CWPP. Well, he's the one that's going to make that happen because he knows the process. He knows how all this works. He's engaged with the Board of Supervisors, the staff. He knows all of that. And yeah, it's an orchestra. It's bringing together the expertise. Who's not here is Clarissa Lowe, who's the analyst working in the program full-time also. And so there's this ability now to support programs, to staff the coordination group, to come to these meetings, all of that. Tom's bringing to the table to lead. And yes, he's going to rely on the expertise of everybody involved, not just the members at the coordination group, but all of you and what you bring to the table and the concerns, the issues, the experience, all of that. He's going to rely on all of that. And he's going to kind of be this orchestra director that's pulling all that together. And with Richie on board now, he is not just running the ordinance. He is engaging again, as I really, we're taking this discussion away from the ordinance itself, and it's about how are we addressing defensible space and home hardening in our county. It's the concept, it's the all of that is one package. And yes, the ordinance is one tool. And so now we've got Richie's background to be able to help and then lead and engage many of those efforts. One of the other discussions, Hugh and I were at the table with Tom and others and Janet and others last week, is where we're going with Firewise communities and how we can, pick up where Maya left off in that temporary coordination. But what's the right look? Cal Fire is stepping up with Jeff Hogue in the program, unlike we've been able to do before. So there's a lot coming there, and a lot of this is channeling through and being supported through OWOPR. It's not being directed at OWOPR. It's providing the basis for that. And so again, all of that's kind of under the leadership of Tom and the team there. So there's going to be a lot more happening there. I personally am excited by the mapping tool. This is something that the Water Agency and our county GIS program has been working on for a while, and we've been able to sit down and really give them some guidance on what we thought should be in it as this first blush. And as Tom said, they should be ready to hopefully release it in the next couple of weeks. It won't be the perfect tool, but that's the whole idea. We want to get something out there for people to start using. And it will be, if those that are familiar with GotNet, that meets its intent for looking at data, parcel data, and that kind of information. This is a pre-fire vegetation fuels planning version of that. It has nothing to do with GotNet, but the idea is building a very specific tool that we can all use to draw fire safe council boundaries and start identifying project areas and be able to look at where legislative boundaries are and fire safe council boundaries, fire districts, and bringing in project data so that you can sit at home on your computer and draw the maps, carve out information, prepare data. And you can apply for grants. You can use all of this to do that and it's not so hopefully would alleviate a lot of the requests we're making into county GIS, but also empower everybody here to do a lot more. I think everybody will probably be first of all, talking about what it doesn't do. I mean, this is a stepping stone. And we want folks to use it and give feedback and to work on that. Phase 2 is really starting a robust gathering of bigger data sets and projects. Mark was with us in the meeting yesterday. Again, we're working with the Water Agency, Forest Service, CAL FIRE, and others to be able to provide that sort of repository for data, whether it's stored here or at least have the governance to access it. But the whole idea being is that when we're planning projects, it's coordinated on this really bigger scale so that we can all see what's there and do it. But it's a much bigger project, more data intensive, requires a bit more governance to when you start talking GIS and file names and nomenclature, all of that. But that's where we're going next. And it's pretty exciting to see where that's happening. So, Chris.
You're passionate.
Hey, this is a big deal. I think it's a big deal. You may not all like it when it comes out, but
Six county government here, and so this is such, as he said, such a big deal. The reason is because you have committees, commissions, but now you're getting an office. So he's been participating, and Ken has, in a lot of that early work. As you know, he's reported many times about it. But now with the formation of the office itself, having a manager and staff and some budget people and people that can tie into the annual expenditures, this is like brand new. It's like a big deal. So I just wanted to emphasize that.
thank you, Chris.
Congratulations.
Well, it's a group, so no, it's anyway, more to come, but thank you, Tom. I think that and Richie, I think it was just a perfect opportunity to really highlight what's happening. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, David. Oh, and Alice, sorry.
So does this mean then that the new Maya will be taking care of us who need adult supervision and firewise over at Concord?
Yes, so if you just
Behave yourself for a little bit.
yes, be patient, yes, the group met last week and of course we chase rabbits like we always do, but at the end of the day, process is the first thing that everyone wants to resolve. And again, the support from CAL FIRE at program in Sacramento down to the unit here is huge. And so we're just trying to iron out who's going to do what's the portal in. But clearly between CAL FIRE and the county, folks are being identified to take this on. So just give us a little bit longer so we have a process that works for people.
He comes through the party.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. Alice.
I should know the answer to this, but I'm guessing for other people in here who may not be more confused too. Trying to figure out how all those pieces go together against, okay, so it's a wildfire strategy, which is kind of a broad brush.
Right.
Then you talked about the county community wildfire protection plan that came out. Then there's also the Fire State Council community wildfire. Can you explain?
Yes, sorry. So yes, so the really quick background, remember, is the Board of Supervisors asked for a wildfire strategy after the Caldor fire. So they wanted this 50,000 foot look at how can we identify gaps, how can we identify where we can do better, all of that. So that's what the strategy was meant to identify, was to be that 50,000 foot sort of, here's how we want to sort of organize engaging and addressing all the silos, the supporting grants, all these things, agencies, organizations working together, all of that with the idea of a more fire resilient El Dorado County. So that, I mean, that's basically there. It's the framework. It establishes the concept of the coordination group, which has all of these different working groups that are being formed, and they working groups go away when they're done or they can stay, but it's how the defensible space work's happening. It's how the public outreach work is happening. It's how the data hub work is happening. It's all sort of happening under these tentacles, of this overarching sort of framework. So that's all happening. Underneath that, again, one more piece is the discussion was the county wanted to embrace the rewrite of the West Slope Community Wildfire Protection Plan. So the one that the Fire Safe Council funded on the West Slope, that is taking that to the next revision. So it's embracing the county paying for it, the county hiring the contractor, and then engaging in the process to facilitate the engaging with the, as Tom said, fire safe and all the stakeholder, but everybody who needs to be engaged from the bottom up needs to happen. And so the counties that we were just yesterday, we met with online with the State Fire Safe Council, who's hosting some workshops about where, with tools and resources that are available to counties and other folks. So it's really sort of in this discussion stage, but the commitment by the county was we want to take a bigger role in helping make that happen so that everybody gets this done and they have the resources to accomplish it.
Thank you. Strategies.
I think double check your there you go.
So the strategy is the framework, the CWPT is more of the detail.
Correct.
And the little individuals we all have, those will still.
They're going to be rolled up under the West Slope. There's basically two CWPPs for El Dorado County, the Lake Tahoe Basin, which is currently under revision right now, and the West Slope. And the concept here is to get any of the individual CWs to have them all rolled up as part of the West Slope CWPP. So the idea being is so there aren't like 24 individual appendices to one document, that they're all cohesive, so that yes, it's not taking away the flavor of what needs to happen in these areas, but at the same time they all intermix so that they're, it's to break down this competing resources or overlaps or conflicts. So we sort of have one 50,000 foot, we've identified one 50,000 foot look at the West Slope, and then how are we getting that done individually through all of our different projects.
You're close. I'm answering the question. There's
Well,
there's
I'm glad to hear that, Chris. Thank you.
There's still a little piece, and that's what I want to ask you.
Okay.
Currently, CWPP, we all as associate fire safety councils have appendices, a piece that we call our own. Do we lose that now? Because of the new approach to West Slope CWPP, do we lose that kind of personalized appendices about us at each of our fire safe councils?
I think the intent is that no, their flavor isn't lost, and that's the whole idea behind. To me, it's all about the process of getting the CWPP done. And we've been reaching out and talking to other counties, Santa Clara, other communities, and sort of how they're all doing the best. They're all trying to figure out ways to make sure this is from the bottom up, stakeholder driven, community driven. Don't lose the flavor of what's happening by whether you call it an annex, a fire safe council. Because remember, there's more than just fire safe councils, right? There's Firewise communities that aren't fire safe councils. There are areas on the West Slope that have nobody, but yet they still have a hazard and a risk. And so the county said we have a response. The county says we have a responsibility to make sure all of that's addressed. Fire safe councils are just one piece of all of this issue. And so the process has to ensure it's engaging everybody at the bottom, identifying all of that and bringing it into the plan. And that's when the outreach is occurring, when these workshops are happening at the bottom level up, that's where this discussion has to happen. And I think what's going to really get pushed hard is that we need to get everybody to these meetings when they're happening. This is going to be a very well publicized push out there about, hey, this plan is being rewritten. It needs to engage people, unlike it engaged people before. And I think that some of the chief complaints, and that's nobody's fault, but some of the chief complaints we've been hearing across the board is, we're not seeing the fire districts engage as much as we would like. Some great, some weren't able to get there. There are other stakeholders. We need everybody. Gosh, wouldn't it be nice to have DOT in the workshops at the beginning so that we're not having these discussions and having to build maps now about, well, where are you working? I mean, that's the idea, is let's do this. But I to be honest, it's bigger than just the fire safe councils, right? We're a big piece of all of this out there, but there are others engaged in this space as well. And so we need to make sure that we're getting where these things are happening out there where folks can get to the table, and we've given everybody an opportunity, because at the end of the day, the Board of Supervisors has to adopt this community wildfire protection plan. I mean, there's a number, if you listen to, and again, we heard it again yesterday from the State Fire Safe Council, if you go back to the tenets, it's all about what was in the Healthy Forest Restoration Act of 2003. And the three main tenets, it has to be stakeholder driven, has to set priorities, and it has to be bought off on, by whatever the whether it's the governing body, and it doesn't mean that they're dictated, but when we took the last CWPP to the board, there was no engage, they didn't really even know what they were signing because we didn't have a process to help them get there. And so we had them adopt it or accept it, but we in good conscience couldn't say who was engaged. And again, nobody's fault. If it wasn't for the Fire Safe Council, we wouldn't even have a CWPP. So that's where we want to fix the gaps, identify what we're missing, have this driven from the bottom up, but have the board engaged from the beginning, have everybody understand what this is. So when we're done and we're presenting this to the board of supervisors, there are no surprises. We all know what it is, and a document that can change. So all of the appendices that are part of this are project action plans, whatever it is from each of the councils and others who are participating. Things change over time. We need a process that doesn't make us have to go back to the board of supervisors or rewrite this document every year, but yet we've got the opportunity for you all to make changes as things happen. And it's a process that can happen, through coordination at OWAPR and others. So Tamara.
Glad that it's gonna be much more community, but I just wanted all people from Slack that were involved last time because we were doing.
Well, yeah, like I said. No, and thank you, Tamara. And that's the point. Like I said, lots of things were happening. It was nobody's fault, but now we've recognized we can do some things here and with some resources behind it. And we want to do that. So anyway, that was a lot, but thank you for generating the comment. Next up, okay, I checked with Tim Cordero this morning. He did not have a Fire Chiefs Association report. But again, I'll be attending the Fire Chiefs Association meeting next week, and we'll bring back if there's any tidbits there that we need, and certainly present to them what we're doing here. We also, I don't see anybody from Fire Prevention Officers Association. I know that Ron Phillips is on vacation this week. He usually speaks for them. I don't see anybody online or here in the room from the forest. I will tell you that Nikki Johnny, Fire Management Officer at the El Dorado, has been engaged. She's been participating heavily in the Office of Wildfire Preparedness, or in the coordination group, but she's also been reaching out to the council individually. They are definitely interested, as they're under mandates nationally, as monies are coming down under the infrastructure bills to ensure that money's getting out on the ground. And they are obviously going to be engaging where our CWPP projects are, but where other activities are. They want the Fire Safe Council element of this, along with the other pieces that are happening, to be part of that. So she's been engaged, and again, we're trying to facilitate the coordination so that everybody understands who's doing what in what space. But she is definitely reaching out to get information. Chris.
The two individuals, is it Jacoby and Nikki?
Yes.
Are they still our contacts, or has things changed? I know things have been changing.
Yeah, no, they are still our contacts. Joe Stout is the forest supervisor, and he has delegated this to them. And with Scott Roger moving on to another region, he's at least on a detail at this point. But yes, so Nikki and Jacoby are our contacts for what we're doing.
To that, as you know, maybe some of you don't. We used to meet at their office over on Route Road. So we were really tight because we were close. We were in their offices. But now we don't have that link, that strong link. So when I hear that they're not here and nobody's at Zoom, I'm kind of wondering how we fit now with the forest comparative to before.
I think I think we fit fine. I think the challenge with the office over there is, again, back to COVID. They really haven't, and Mark can attest to this, they have not opened up their facility for these kinds of meetings. So that number one. Number two is, I think we've outgrown it. I think with what we need to do with hybrid meetings, all of that, it needs to happen in a space like this. But three, Jacoby's been here off and on all year. Nikki's participating in other places. We'll definitely encourage them to make sure that they've got good reports for us and not let that slip. But they are definitely engaged with us, I can tell you that. Yeah.
Ken. There's a gal, Michelle Wolfgang, who's supposed to be the Forest Service's person for all partnerships. And so she might be something for us to add to our mailing list and trying to engage her, because that's her job.
Right.
Coordinating various groups. So-
I'll double check. I don't recall if she's, we added her or not, but I'll get her on there. Oh, yeah, no, again, there's been a lot of work going on outside of this meeting and partnerships and keeping all that going. We just need to make sure we're getting good report outs here. And so we'll make sure we get the right folks. Yes.
I bond with somebody.
That's your thing.
Yeah, what does that tell you? All right. Next up, item 7, Mark, Resource Conservation District.
Thank you, and just real quick, build on discussion with OWAPR and so forth, it reminded me of going back years and years and years with patents. Talking about how.
Oh, hey, Mark, could you flip the rhythmic? They're a little weird. You hold it there you go. You got it.
That's. I had for years trying to figure out how we can share resources and build capacity to be responsive to the communities, and as the fires have been, just beating us down, and more fire safety councils have come through. I remember going to the CAO's office years ago and saying, you've got air quality management districts, you've got stormwater, to bid departments, you've got stormwater management plan, you've got all of these, organizational frameworks to guide and lead the council in the direction to address those issues. And here we have this issue with wildfire preparedness. You have these fire safety councils and RCPs who are just small agents, organizations, volunteers. We need some help. We need direction. And the formation of OWAPR is really providing that for us, because we need long-term, leadership to ensure that we can allocate the limited amount of resources that we have where it's needed, and that we can align our priorities with other agencies and be more efficient. And so we're growing, we're adapting, and we are looking forward to committing to this framework. So that helps with a little bit of that discussion. We are then going right into staffing. Over the course of the last year, we were really trying to build up on some staffing. We have had a reduction. So we are aggressively looking for at least 2 more positions right now at the project management level. So that information is on my website. Really good people, really energetic. That's really the qualifications for go getters, So I would also say that going right into I appreciate working with Janet on our administrative side, making sure all of our reports and progress reports and invoices is processed and accepted. We get checks really relatively soon. As you know or may not know, the RCD for all the projects that we have at the front, all of those attached. As a small organization, it does draw on the resources. So I appreciate the prompt payments and everything like that, and administrative efficiencies we get money with the work on. I also want to mention we and Tamara next meeting to make sure we're on the same page when we're working really, really closely together, and just still be that partnership there. I do want to say that I could probably go over every single project that we have, like
Chipping too.
and our budget operations budget projects, and many of you in this room have that. I will say that over the course of the next and coming to the fire safety council meetings and finding out where it's about, making sure that there's the needs to make sure that we continue the progress of implementation. I think with South Cal, Marshall, Georgetown, we look at Spanish Flat, we look at Lotus, we're through the right of entry agreement phase, right? And so we need to get through that phase, and we are. And so during that time period, we've already started initiating our contracts with the archaeological Professional services to do all the archaeological surveys for all of those projects, including rescue under our Tahoe Sierra initiative. Develop their vegetation management plan. So you'll be seeing the archaeological team and the biological reports coming your way soon as they get initiated. All the agreements have been signed. They're coming up with a work plan that we are reviewing right now, approving, and getting those archaeologists on site to do all the surveys. I'm really hoping that even with fire season upon us, that we can get a construction contract for all those projects so that we can at least get work started, irregardless of where we are with right entry agreements, and people see work happening, then I think more progress.
You're still on. Don't say anything.
That being said, I want to, we have shared a lot of information with your recommendation on cost, treatment prescription and mapping those things like that. Yeah, absolutely. Contracts going on. Links Trail are going to be starting next week. Sierra Springs is ongoing, Mountain Enterprise and 2C Land. We've got operations going on Dewey on Bend. We'll be moving over to King of the Mountain, and then also starting about 500 or 600 acres from Cable Road to Badger Hill Road on around those mountain. Doing that area. We've got operations going on along Norman Inter Trail, along Plum Meadows, all the Forest Service units along that area that complements the SPI work, and then we'll also be doing all of the private lands along that area as well. We did just get $1 million from CAL FIRE for additional work along the Park Creek area, complementing the prior phases of Fire Adaptive 50. The Stevens Authority, we completed the ones that we had for Zip Flats and Gold Ridge. I will say that we are going to be starting the new Grizzly class. We've already got all the contract reports from everybody in that place. Information on a piece of property that we're working through, Granny and myself. Sierra Springs as well. We are going to be starting with Mosquito, and I want to say with Volcano. We are going to be commencing with that, but we've been holding off on these a little bit just because we've been working with Placer County and the Placer County Resource Conservation District, CAL FIRE, and the U.S. Forest Service out of the state private forest office Vallejo. We've got an emergency forest recovery team money going to the Placer County RCD. We've got an MOU in place, an agreement in place, and we'll be bringing at least $1 million into Volcanoville to do fire recovery work in that community. And this is the first time I've announced that. Speaking of emergency support fire recovery teams, we've done over 1,000 acres of treatment in Grizzly Flats. We've just planted over 500 acres. We are going to be doing competition and site control on those lands for the next 3 years at minimum. We know there is a lot more work to do out there. The demand is absolutely immense for people wanting us to come out there and work. We tried to apply for some funding and we were not successful. We're going to try. Grizzly Flats is still a major priority. Operations at Sierra Tahoe are underway. We got helicopter operations starting next week, and we are going to open the entirety of that resort by the end of this year. We also are going to be starting work on the cabin tracks along Highway 50 from Echo Summit down to Silver Fork. We've identified over 95 miles of road systems. Forest Service has 1.5 roads. State, private, and county roads are included in the NEPA document that is signed. Our focus for this is going to be just on Forest Service roads, leading to cabin or recreation sites right now. And before I forget, I just want to give a shout out to Texas Tim. I see him on the line there. And then also that part of Highway 50 corridor, what we've done with Caltrans, we are working on a cooperative agreement with Caltrans for another county, but it's the same agreement that they're presenting to about 50 different RCPs throughout the state. So we have met, there's all the RCPs meeting with Caltrans to review these agreements and making sure that there's something that can be done. And doable across the board for any state road system. But I think we're almost there. So the agreement, and the encroachment permit process and everything is underway. We are mapping, we've received all the GIS data from Caltrans to map out their easement. We have mapped out where all the NEPA documentation is for the Forest Service, which is the Roadrunner. We're looking at all of the OES data that we're gathering to identify where other people are already working. We're doing our work along Forest Service roads as well. So we're looking at a wildfire protection strategy along Highway 50 in partnership between Pollock Pines Fire Safety Council. So what we're doing is we map that out, we've documented where work is already being done. It gives a really refined project description, project area. So we made a lot of progress on that. And then that leads me into Placerville. With the county fire safety elements where it is now, and with the El Dorado County Transportation Commission's and their pending dynamic issues, the OWAPR strategy being pretty much done. The data hub being launched, I think that we are in a position now, and my board took authorization on Monday night to authorize the execution of the solicitation for professional services to help us develop a plan. So we've got really good reference material to build from. And we'll be working with OWAPR very, very closely to ensure that that plan meets the strategy and what is being complementary to the CWP. Our goal for that is to identify projects and get them through CEQA. So it's going to be project focused. So just with that, I want to make it brief, but
So that was really good. Thank you, Mark. Tamara.
I didn't totally understand. Are you working with them to have a contract to do the fuel reduction work along the towns, along the state roads into the road? I mean, that.
yeah, Caltrans is looking to help, right, to
Yeah.
maintain areas. So their maintenance division really doesn't do a lot of that. I mean, they are doing some of it, but long-term wise, they need help. And they have money. And so RCDs are entities that are found throughout the state of California. And we have the ability to enter into character agreements.
So that would be for all the state highways,
Yes.
excluding 193,
Yeah.
which is the one I care about.
Yeah, so we've been working, to their credit, Caltrans reached out, Mark, been working with them, working with actually the Camino Fire Safe Council and others, trying to get, it's Highway 50, 193 and 49 are like the big ones on obviously in El Dorado County. And to the credit that the vegetation management program for Caltrans in Sacramento has been having every other week meetings with the RCD and others to kind of talk about how do they build a strategy to get some of this work done. And again, they're really going to tag on to and play off of the plans for example, Fire Adapted 50, and how can they be the partner to bring resources within their jurisdiction and sphere of influence. And then as the CWPP rewrite, they were again on the call with us with the Fire Safe Council yesterday at the state to determine, hey, as the El Dorado County is updating its CWPP, we want to make sure, we can partner with the projects and the councils that are doing work along the state highways. So yeah, we're seeing engagement from them, again, that we haven't seen before.
So yesterday at the Board of Supervisors, 9 o'clock, there was an item 52 that had to do with Senate Bill 1383. It has to do with meeting our procurement requirements on biomass attributes and also composting procurement. Did you listen in on that at all?
No, my response to any of those emissions biomass is that, we've got feedstock. If anybody can buy it, just come and let us know.
The only reason I
Here.
was because they were talking about soil nutrition after a fire. That supposedly it just burns out the top layers of any nutritional value, and then needs to take years to come back. That's what they're talking about, is whether or not they can produce enough soil amendment to be able to go to the forest, and the forest will accept it. Once they know how much they need, then they can build up the system in order to provide it. That's the only reason why I think you and your organization should know this.
Well, then, we've looked at different ways to remediate burn severity over the years, and mineralization of soil is broken down over time. And we initially have always thought that grazing and bringing back the cattle from the hoof would break that down. There's a lot of different ways that we can manage land.
Yes.
So we have to put every tool in the toolbox and use when they're available, where appropriate.
Okay.
All right. You can make it brief, Dave.
We're positive, that's repulsive. So Mark, what you just, your board voted to authorize, will that be like for shaded fuel breaks? Are we gonna go back to those plans that we had a few years ago?
So what I'm doing is we're gonna hire an environmental planning consultant to make sure that we draft a document that's consistent with what the county and the city of Placerville and the fire safety council performs and understands what it needs to be. That's number one. So that people know what it is. Two, we're gonna be hiring it's kind of like a forestry technical team to run modeling scenarios to actually design, fuel breaks that are complementary to flexible space and home hardening, strategies. They're not gonna be, out in the land flume or whatever. We're gonna, like, for example, we're also gonna look at SMUD infrastructure. We're gonna look at resource values, look at what resources are gonna be protected, what other criteria that are in the right? And so that can be defined in development. Hopefully, we can use this as an example of building other vegetation management strategies in other communities as well. Because traditionally we use like slope, vegetation type, different criteria. We want to sort of solidify that better, and so that we can duplicate it and can provide some guidance to fire safety councils through when they want to develop, their own individual community wildfire protection strategies. And use this to hopefully have more deliverables, so that there's guidelines, there's examples, things like that. Out of this effort.
Well, Mark, before COVID, I think was Deer Creek was engaged and we had all our doodles for where the fire breaks was supposed to be. Is this totally different or?
So we have to get a project through CEQA, which is defined, there's a difference between a concept and an action. So these will be a lot further refined than concepts that Deer Creek.
Okay, so they're gonna be closer to getting things shovel ready.
Yes, and this is the first, so you have basically you've got the California Forest Resilience Strategy and all that, and then you've got the Regional Forest Fire Capacity Program, which is a program that has been an avenue for funding. We're under agreement under the Regional Forest Fire Capacity Program, which is funding this project, and we're hoping that we can channel the money from the Regional Forest Fire Capacity Program for the implementation. The CERDAC terms funded this as a planning project to ensure that we had the ability to get funding for implementation through the Regional Forest Fire Capacity Program.
How far away is implementation, you think?
So we've been patient and we've been waiting to get things in front of us, right? With OWOPR, with the general plan update, we wanted, and the Transportation Commission, we wanted to make sure that we weren't running out there and doing something that's going to stand alone and not be valuable. And so I think we're in a position now that we have things in front of us. And I don't want to spend a lot of time doing the plan. But identifying the projects is going to be complicated. We've already got Texas Hill pretty much right there, and it's taken a while. We know that there's a lot of communities in Placerville with the new delineational boundaries that you're working on. We have to work with that. And again, we want projects that we can get through CEQA, and that means you can't do CEQA unless you do all your archaeological. So it's a lot of work. So I'd say a year.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, very good. All right, let's thank you, Mark. And Mark's always available to catch up, and thank you for that report. So I don't have reports today from SMUD or PG&E. Hopefully Mike Webb at PG&E is helping get the South County power outage back online this morning. So but I do have Sergeant Schlag from EDSO OES section. And Sergeant Schlag, you have the floor, and thank you for being here today.
Oh, no worries. Sorry, took me a little bit to get into the meeting. I don't know what was going on with Zoom, but it had some issues.
No problem.
So just to give you guys an update on what's going on with with us here in OES, right now, our big project is we're starting the process for the local hazard mitigation plan. Obviously, that probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of you, but as we go to hire basically a contractor to assist us with that process, because there was a lot of new SBs and ABs that were put into place in regards to the local hazard mitigation plan. So some of those are really not that big of a deal to us, but one in particular, and I forget the name of the particular AB at this point, but I'll try to get that out to you. But it's basically requiring us to have evacuation routes listed in the mitigation plan for every community in El Dorado County. So as most of you know, for years in OES, we've told everybody, we get a lot of people that ask for evacuation plans and why we don't have them in the county. And the answer has always been, and it always will be really, is because our biggest emergency, wildfires, there's no way to give pre-designated evacuation routes for something that you don't know where it's going to start, which way it's going to go, how fast it's going to move, the communities it's going to affect. There's just no way to know that. So how you preemptively give out evacuation routes for that is beyond me, but that's something we're going to be looking at. And hopefully we can get input from a contractor at their level. They deal with Cal OES and FEMA on a regular basis, that we can hopefully get some kind of workaround with that. Short of that, we are currently live and going with Rave. We have been for some time now. So if you haven't shared with your particular communities, make sure to let them know that if they were signed up for Code Red, they should have migrated over to the new Rave system. But we do suggest that everybody goes to the ready.edso.org website, sign in, check your information, make sure it's correct. Up at this point, I think we've had maybe since the mitigation, we've probably had about 10 people that had issues, but that's 10 people too many. So we do highly recommend that everybody gets out there and they look at their information, update their information. Remember to change. If you have new family members living in the house with cell phones, get them added in. The more people that are signed up to this program, the better it works. So just as a reminder, really, put that information out to your communities. Make sure to get signed up for that, or check their information if they went from Code Red to the new Rave system. I get a lot of questions on why we went to Rave. Just real briefly on that, Rave is a better system. Code Red was good for what it was when we first initially got it back in, I think it was 2013 or 14, I think is when we started migrating from the old reverse 911 Nixle type system to Code Red. At that time, it was a far superior program to what we had. Rave it's where Code Red really hasn't improved over the years. Rave does a lot of the same things that you hear Everbridge and programs like that do. It does more. And the most important thing about that is, to where we were currently paying $28,000 a year for Code Red, Rave is free through the state. So Cal OES and the state's really trying to push to get everybody on the same systems. So you sign up for Rave in Los Angeles area, and you come up to El Dorado County and you're signed up on Rave. If an alert goes out, in theory, you should get that alert by the geofencing of wherever the call out's at. So the state's really pushing to try to get everybody on that same page. So the reasons we moved over: A, it's free, being a big reason, saves us a lot of money that we could put in other projects, and two, it's simply a better system. So if anybody has any questions, remember you can always contact us here at OES, 621-5895. If any of your communities have any issues getting signed up for Rave or whatnot, just give them that phone number, have them call in to us. Deputy Whitlock, Bear, or Almost, or if they're not available, I'll help them get signed up to make sure that they get that taken care of. Short of that, that's pretty much where we're at in OES right now, if you have any questions.
No, thank you. And one question, Sergeant Sloggett, always comes up is, I've signed up, but I never hear it. Is mine working? reality of it is you don't normally just do a bunch of tests anyway. So the fact that folks have not had their rave go off doesn't necessarily mean it's not working. Any thoughts to help people feel comfortable that they have signed up correctly and that the systems, they're online?
Yeah, so that's a good point, Ken. So that's another actually good point as to another reason we went away from Code Red. So when we had the Caldor fire. Code Red was a minute-based system, meaning that we paid for so many minutes to have, and the entire time we had it, we never maxed out those minutes until Caldor hit. And Caldor, most of you know, we had a majority of the county was evacuated at one point. I think it was over 50,000 people when we included Tahoe into that numbers. And then the multiple messages that were sent out, not only in English, but we were also sending out Spanish versions as well, because Code Red did not do that. It didn't give that option for Spanish speakers to speak up for the language that that's commonly spoke in their house. So Rave allows that. It allows for, if you're primarily Spanish speaking or another language that they support, you can sign up for it in that language. And so as soon as the message goes out, I don't have to translate it into that. The system does it automatically. Well, long story short, when Caldor was all said and done, we got a bill for over 100,000 from Code Red. That was like, oh, you guys went over your minutes. So we were able to work it out with them. Luckily, they did work with us, and we were able to lose most of that. We just signed up for a little bit of a longer contract with them than we would have liked. But in the end, we didn't end up having to pay all that extra money. So that's one of the other reasons that we didn't do testing in the county, is because, we were minute based, and we had to be very, frugal with those minutes, how we sent them out. Rave is unlimited. We don't have a limit to how many messages we can send out. So that is something that we're looking at, that once we are fully comfortable with the system, which we are pretty much right now, we want to start looking at possibly doing a county-wide alert just as a test. And hopefully we can get a good idea then of, those folks that have those questions a lot. We can help them, sleep a little easier at night, knowing that the system is working for them.
No, perfect. Thank you. Let's see. We have one question in the back. Bob, get you a microphone.
Questions. You mentioned the connectivity around the state with in other areas. Does that mean that if my home location in Colorado County got an evacuation order and I was in LA, I would get that report? Or does it mean I'm in LA in an area that has been called for evacuation?
Yeah, I think I had a little trouble hearing you, but I think I got the question. So if you're signed up here in El Dorado County, just South County, for example, somewhere in Mount Auckham, if we put out an alert in that area and you're out in LA, then yes, you should still get the alert, because that's the phone number that you signed up for. So the way that works is we draw an actual shapefile onto a map. And in theory, wherever that shapefile is at, that message should be geofenced to that area and that area only, meaning that just only the boundaries of where we drew it to on the map should be the only place that message goes out to. So if you're in that area and you're signed up on the cell phone that you're carrying with you, and that's the number you put in, then yes, you would get that. Now here's the way we're told it works, but I haven't actually seen it work like that. So I'm more of I have to see it before I'm fully 100% on board with it. But in theory, the way Raves, what they sold it is that yes. So if you're signed up here in El Dorado County and you drive down to LA and you're in an area that gets evacuated, that the geofence that they put in, just like we put up in here, it should capture you in that area, and it should send an alert to you on your phone. Now I haven't tested this in this county yet to see if that works, because we wanted to make sure that we got just the basics of to make sure our community is taken care of first and foremost before we started really running tests to see if the tourists coming in from outside the county, we're going to be able to get these alerts as well. But keep in mind too, El Dorado County, Rave, Code Red, I don't care what system it is, that is always secondary to deputies going door to door. That is always going to be our primary way of letting people know. I know that seems a little archaic at times, but that is the 100% surefire way that we can guarantee you're going to get in a message in emergency. So, you know, phones and cell systems are great until you throw out a large message and you impact the cell towers. And if the cell tower burnt, there's always that chance you might not get that message. So that's always going to be our primary way of getting through there. If the fire's, nipping at their heels, obviously they're going to be driving down the roads, hitting their sirens, blasting it out over the loudspeaker, that you need to leave right now. So that's pretty much the way Caldor went. As deputies were leaving that area, they were some of the last ones that were in Grizzly Flats before it burned over. In fact, I mean, we were there that night. I was there that night, and fire drove by us and they yelled out the window, "You guys need to leave." And that was, deputies. I mean, as we were leaving, Grizzly Flat Roads was catching on fire behind us. But that's always going to be the way that we give out that primary message. That's never going to change.
Thank you, Sergeant. That was perfect. And again, always appreciate it. And I know your folks are getting out and about. I know Sergeant Whitlock will be out in Occam Fairplay tonight. So we appreciate you folks making the time to get out where you can.
Oh, no worries. I can't speak for us all, but I know I love the fire safe councils. You guys make our jobs a lot easier by helping spread this message and getting it into the communities. We can put on a meeting here at the sheriff's office, and a lot of times, especially in the outlying zones, not a lot of people want to come to the sheriff's office. So
you're kind of scary sometimes.
So we really appreciate the partnership we have with you all.
No, thank you. Likewise. Okay, very good. So I don't have anybody here from the Bureau of Reclamation, and maybe I can talk offline. Just anybody who, again, I've reached out several times to try to get them to participate. So maybe if others have direct contact, maybe we can help encourage them to get to another meeting. With that, we're at program reports, grants and funding, and I'll turn it over to Tamara.
For anyone who's interested in doing a fuel reduction project, should apply for a grant. This workshop will be focused on what happens after you get the grant. I'll do another workshop later when after we get the CAL FIRE grants come out on how to write a grant. But I don't know how other people are, but I know for me, I had no idea when I got my first grant what it took to implement the project and how much time it was going to take and all of everything that went into it. And I might have reconsidered applying for a grant if I had. In doing a fuel reduction project in your community, I would highly encourage you to attend the workshop that we're going to put together, just so you know all of the steps that go into that project, things you need to have in place to do it once you get the grant. And we're looking at doing that after the next board meeting in August. So I think it's the 16th. So it'll just be, following that meeting. So please put that on your calendar, and we'll put out the agenda to remind you.
Well, I will add, I think we may have mentioned it at the last meeting, but Tamara did apply for the Fire Safe Council grant for defensible space programs. I think it was a $500,000 grant. And so it sounds like that decision window, it comes up fairly soon. I think it was September, I believe. Yeah. So again, we were looking at, and you'll hear it coming up next here from Jessica. She goes over the numbers and the programs. We realized right away that with the pace and scale that we're going, we needed to look at additional funding for that program. So Tamara was able to put together that application. So anyway, we'll see where that goes coming up. So thank you, Tamara. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Jessica, and she's going to cover both 9B, C, and D, the chipping, defensible space, and hazard tree removal programs. Oh, yes, you need the microphone.
Hi, everyone. So for the month of June, like Janet had expressed already, we spent a lot of money.
Drunken sailors was, spend it like drunken sailors.
Expend it if you have it. I was just looking for, the Mosquito Swansboro community event that we did, was extremely successful. I'm looking for the number right here. 67 jobs were completed in total, only 7 were canceled. It was approximately 6,000 minutes, which equated to roughly $25,000 of work done in the Mosquito Swansboro area.
So just a reminder, this was a combination of the chipping program.
Yes, yeah, we went out, we did a community event and organized through the Mosquito Fire Council. And so when we do the community events, we prioritize those first and foremost. So if you create an event through your council, we complete all the jobs as fast as we can. This took a month. It was a month-long process because there were so many applications, but we finally completed it and it went really well. I believe there weren't any issues. I've received a lot of compliments on it.
I really want to compliment the contractors that was up there. They did an excellent job. They staged their equipment at my house a number of times. But I got nothing but great reviews from the community. So it was a huge undertaking. So thank you.
Yeah, and so anybody who wants to talk to me can talk to me after the meeting about organizing their own individual community event through their council. Outside of that, for the month of June, this also includes the mosquito jobs, but 123 jobs were completed. Averaging, it was about $55,000 was spent for the month of June. That's just for chipping. For defensible space, for the month of June, about $33,000 was spent. We have 174 jobs currently that were processed in June. 116 are actively in queue. 70 of them are waiting evaluations. 46 of them are waiting to be contracted. 39 were completed and closed out. 11 were closed due to whatever reasons. And a total job cost or average job cost is about $810 per property. That brings us to roughly about $72,789.60 that have been spent on defensible space since the beginning of the year. That's including evaluations. It might be a couple dollars off with the evaluations, but pretty close. Now, hazardous tree. They have accepted 72 applications. 22 have been evaluated. 7 of them were closed because only 15 properties had eligible trees. On those 15 properties, 39 trees were identified for removal. What they are doing, and since this is in the beginning, I just want you to know it's averaging about 3 weeks for the evaluations to be completed from submission to them getting out there. Now, the way that MBG is operating is they are creating a package to put out an RFP for the actual excavators. Once they have a certain amount of trees, they create these packages and then they're just going to do them in bulk. So right now, trees will not actually be started to be removed for another month. It's gonna average about a 2-month time frame once they start doing it from application submission to completion. And that's it. Thank you. And close, I'm just kidding.
Take down a tree.
Okay,
So, eligibility, I probably could have gone through the program. But we don't seem to have the data that you talk about on the chipping, where you know how much per site. But you'll get that data once we bring these trees down. Then you'll be able to report back to us and say, hey, this is our average cost per tree. I'm also interested in height. How
Height.
big is the tree, maybe trunk, or even the height? So maybe that's something to keep in mind as you report back on the tree program.
I know that's gonna be a little difficult because since they're doing packages, it's not necessarily based off an average per tree, it's based off a package for the company. So they're doing it in group, in bulk. So it's not really, it doesn't break down to a flat rate per tree, but I can look at each individual property and make my own guesstimations.
Okay.
I don't know how accurate it will be though.
You have, just talk about accuracy and let us know.
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
thank you.
Let's go.
Hi, David.
Just had an issue. Festival space and your use of technology, in my mind, it's wonderful having a younger generation and not. I mean. Use of compassion, rescheduling a job, in spite of everything.
Yes.
Thank you. And then we keep on hearing that their website's funky on the festival space, but even I can do it in 5 minutes for every job, so. I can't even tell there's a migration or anything, it's just so great in the festival space. On chipping, if I'm trying to have a chipping party like Mosquito did, like the one at Chip do an application for each house in the neighborhood.
Every time.
You schedule them to.
It depends. If you're trying to organize one through your actual council, it will be the entire area where your council's located. If you're just trying to focalize on a small neighborhood, say 4 or 5 applications, I will accept them. I can assign them at the same time. And what our contractors already do is they group them and try to knock them out. If they're within a mile of each other, that's what they already do, is try to knock it out in the same day.
Sorry. They'll figure out doing it all at the same time.
Exactly. They all have their own independent mapping systems that allows them to coordinate based off of distance, what's going to be most feasible for each individual day. And that's why it's super important to put the actual sizes of the piles so they can determine whether or not they'll have time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alice.
Yes, thanks for getting through all that difficult stuff. I have 2 questions. One is, at one time, there was talk with the defensible space program that they weren't getting as many people, and maybe we've been after this too. And so there was talk about raising the income level. Does it turn out that that's not a problem anymore? You get better people.
I didn't notice.
Oh, yeah, no, well, she's on the income limited, not it's the eligibility piece.
Oh,
not
for the eligibility. I believe that's based off of California regulation. I don't think that's changed.
And then the other question is, as county inspections and CAL FIRE inspections are done, and there are people out there who that are told you have to do this in a certain amount of time, is there any way to give those people priority if they end up meeting the event? Or the chicken program?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, they're being encouraged to sign up. The 5 if you count Tahoe, but the 4 county emphasis areas on the west slope. Those dates are all identified and the fire safe councils are all supposed to be engaged, with that team. They've all had site visits. And so that was the idea, was to try to adjudicate those things and get it sort of raised to the top. And so I guess what I would encourage is that if folks, if you're in one of those areas, or if you're being inspected by CAL FIRE in one of the target hazard areas, is to identify that. And we can certainly, we can look at it. Right now, there isn't a plan to prioritize that because we want everybody to sort of do this at the same time. But I think certainly we want coordinated efforts. And so where we know activities occurring, we want to get in there as early as we can to help community members get their work done, before even the formal inspection comes.
I know that when individual issues have come up, I have just started reaching out to independent councils to see if they can help the specific resident in that area through their own council outside of the main program. But we do take into consideration any city codes and regulations. Our evaluators, when they go out there, they take what's needed and they put that at top priority to be completed. And we're moving a lot faster than we were. The slinky effect that we were experiencing has significantly gone down, and we are knocking jobs out much quicker than we were before. I know it was averaging about 90 days before. I want to say right now we're pushing 60. But that to me is a significant difference. I think we're headed in a really good direction.
All right, thank you, Jessica. And I know that what we've committed to in working with Tom and the coordination OWOPR team is, Tom indicated that there's later in August, a Board of Supervisor presentation update on the overall OWOPR program, but we want to make sure that the Fire Safe Council information is included as part of that. So we really want to talk about, where we've been going with our program, so that we can publicly talk about the programs, many of them which are being funded in part by the county. So thank you for that. There's a lot going on there. Hey, Alice, Public Outreach and Education.
I just want to start, thanks. I wasn't here last time, I was a few days after the fair, and I really want to thank all the people who came out to the fair. It was really wonderful because we had people from about 9 different fire safe councils, and that kind of support from throughout the county. Really appreciate it. We'll shout out to Mosquito, Placerville, Auckland Fairplay, Sandbridge, Texas Hill, Toledo, Oak Hill area, Diamond Springs, and Strawberry. So we really want to thank you all for the volunteers. Let's see, the next newsletter, which will be the summer newsletter, is coming out. I've actually finally finished it, so it's about to come out. But if you have any events that, especially if they have a regional interest, if you're a fire safe council, please let me know, because I have a little spot in this one to review events. That day or Tuesday, really today. I wanted to let you know, I don't know how many of you saw this disaster resource guide that came out from the Mountain Democrat. We tried really hard to get the right information in here, and it didn't happen. It's wrong again. There are some fire safe councils in here, the new ones are not in here, and I apologize for that. I've talked to Mimi Escobar again, and she promises me that next year this will not happen. So it's happened in 3 years, so hopefully we'll get it right. Fine. Also, Arts and House Culture El Dorado is doing kind of a partnership thing with us, where they got a grant, and I forgot the amount, where they're going to be trying to help with arts to get our message out about fire safety. So this is kind of interesting that we have graphic designers be involved, and they're also going to be working at 5 events: one in Divide, one in Placerville, and one in South County, and then the other 2 are like that. So those 3 areas now.
It was $96,000 for supervisor to scale. And they got a grant for 117 from the state.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
Thank you, Chris.
And let's see, if you're interested in being part of that planning thing too. Then August 5th, there's an event, fire safety event at the library, and it's mostly aimed at kids, and I'm going to be there with 5 or 6 of my games, and I would love it if anyone wanted to help me in managing those. Let me know if anyone say, hey, she's doing that, that'd be great. Let's see, it's working pretty well with the closet. People are borrowing things and putting the baskets back. Thank you so much. Between Carrie knowing what events are and sticky notes, just make sure that you pay attention so that someone else is counting on, for example, Nino's counting on stuff on August 1st. I'm counting on stuff on August 5th for that library event, so just kind of pay attention to that. And Hugh had mentioned that we're gonna have a meeting after September, the September one's not the August one, which is gonna be the grants thing, but the September one after the board meeting. And it will be an hour to two, and I'll be focusing on decks, really detail on deck, when we go beyond what we learned in the assessors class. But it's open to anybody. If you want to fit through the assessors-
You're in the end of retirement.
Focus on.
I mean, that's there, and I think that's all.
Thank you, Alice. Lots happening there too. And doubly thank you for organizing the storage in the closet at the Fire Safe Council office. I think that's really working out, having that stuff, materials available. Uh-oh. Go ahead.
Say.
We were there. We were there. Tamara and I were there.
It's free.
And if you stop by there tonight at 6 o'clock, Claire Frank, the retired deputy director from CAL FIRE, who has been on a book tour, just released her book, Burnt. It's basically her life in the fire service. Anyway, she's doing signing her books there tonight as part of that at 6 o'clock. So I would encourage folks to go. It's at 525 or 525 Main Street. It's right next to where the Fire Safe Council office is, the old post office there. Yeah. Literally next door, little building right there.
For all you old timers, it's the old telephone office.
All right. Governance and new council formation, Karen.
Nothing on new council formation and governance. We're just reviewing policies and procedures and bylaws, so. That's it.
All right, thank you. So we're gonna go on to community council reports, but of course, I want to throw Supervisor Parlin on the spot. Anything you want to say? Since you're here, because I know you're. I know.
So Jessica, thank you. You've been a really great resource for my office when you have questions. I don't know what to do with people.
Yeah.
That's.
Thank you. Yes.
That's all I got.
Thank you. All right, community council reports, a little update from folks on what's going on around the county. We'll start with Tamara.
Our family to prioritize the reduction project, get the community more involved, and unfortunately they had to cancel that meeting. Our CD representative was sick, and then he ended up
Quitting.
no longer at our CD anymore. So I'm not sure. Okay. Other communities are interested in doing a similar. Be interesting for you to attend and just sort of see how we're doing this and learning along with that. So I will just keep everybody posted when that comes to the schedule.
David.
business past weekend, put out a presentation at Escataway Village in Placerville, about 25 people. And I want to thank Carrie and you for giving me a bunch of booklets to give out to them, that they serve some enthusiasm. Although I have to confess that I flunked after 2 hours to try to get my GMRS license. Alan's working with me on it, but I think it's because they already have an amateur radio license and must have screwed something up, so. All right, anyway, hope I can do this, I'm trying. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Other community council reports. Let's go, Michael, and then we'll go to Bob.
Mike Conley with Power Lake Trail. And we had a community green waste dumpster day last weekend, and we had 3 10-yard dumpsters that we filled in less than 4 hours. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome, good work. Wow. Yeah.
Here, Bob, yes, Global Fire Council. I wanted to thank Mark, our CD Mark.
Oh, he just left.
Poor guy. Well, we've been meeting, I can say, you know what?
We'll give him the recording, Bob. Yeah, you're good.
And the team over there, I can't say, I mean, we asked them for an updated map on right of entries, and half hour later, we've got a super accurate map down to the lot level. We're still working on those right of entries, and we're pushing 60% right now. We're looking for 90. And we've got our roadside ambassadors, our road ambassadors now going door to door, which is easier said than done. I mean, there are some backward areas. So exactly like people knocking on their doors, but we're really working hard. The last thing I wanted to say is, last month I heard about the hazardous street program. So I've got this tree that's leading up against the power line that goes to my house, and it's dead to me. So a week ago, I applied for the program, and the day before yesterday, the tree doctor came over and said, yeah, it's dead. And so they're going to take care of it. So I just want to thank you for that.
Oh, excellent. Elizabeth, yeah, again, I'll come over here.
Elizabeth Sandwich, Fireside Council. So we're still working through all the requests for sensible space assessments. A lot of people are on vacation, so around that's taking a little bit of time, but we're getting there. And then also we got a chance to apply for a small grant through Western Slope Foundation, and heard the other day we got $4,900 coming in for road signage and mesh to screening mesh for people with pressure fit things. So,
Very cool. All right, will be others in the room? Oh, Rich.
Thank you. Rich Wade, representing the Ridge Forest Fire City Council. Our council is going to have an evacuation meeting this Saturday, 9 a.m. at the Old Ridge Forest Clubhouse, which is on Local Trail just off of Side Park Road. Starts at 9 o'clock, and then we'll include presentations from the county OES, county animal services, and also the neighborhood radio watch be there. And also have a presentation from Heather Campbell regarding changes in insurance ratings and the potential for reducing your insurance premium based on market measures that you might take. So if you're interested in coming, seeing how we do it, it's been pretty successful. We've done one basically every year, and targeting folks who are new to the area and try to get them engaged with the whole process of potential evacuation. Thanks.
Excellent. Okay, others? All right, not seeing or hearing anyone else. We'll move on to project reports. David, so far, update.
Well, it's being summer, a lot of things are slow, but we will have a meeting on August 9th at 1:30 by Zoom. So that would be sort of a generalist meeting and when the public's invited. So let me know if you need any help reaching there. Should I say something about Bracknell?
Yes, dive right in.
On July 25th at 1 p.m. is the next BAP meeting. All of you should consider yourself welcome to attend. It's not a fun group. There's always that emphasis on fire insurance because of the sponsor, it's not a policy holders. But it's all the fire saver that we're doing, but you get a state and regional perspective there. So that's another Zoom slide that I can share.
I'm doing biomass cogeneration. So just to give everybody a little background, we have a board of supervisor biomass ad hoc committee. Supervisor Arlen is on it and Supervisor Turnbull. And so that's at the county level. They also have Greg Stanton, the consultant lead. He's the consultant lead on biomass cogeneration. And he works with this biomass ad hoc committee that I just spoke about. There's also the Amador and El Dorado Forest Forum, and they've been in place since 1942. Forest professionals, forest landowners, forest educators, and various other people interested in forest practice and issues. They meet in the months of September through April. On the third Wednesday of the month, alternating between Amador and El Dorado County. And with that comes the annual tour in May. And then there's what's called the Forest Challenge, which is a high school academic events over 4 days. And that happens in Shasta, Santa Cruz, El Dorado, and San Bernardino. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of this you wouldn't hear about, but I'm picking it up because of biomass cogeneration, a link between the two. I get my reporting from Greg, and he's very good about doing it in the form of a text. He tells me that the Black Oak Mine School District had resubmitted their CAL FIRE grant application. And that I guess I'll be resubmitting it in September. And they feel comfortable. This is their second time around that they've made the modifications. The key here is that you submit, you get something back, you reject it, you modify to get your application better than it was the first time. And you keep doing that, and then subsequently you get it right. And that's the way the process works. So Black Oak Mine is looking for a cogeneration biomass type project for their area, which is anyway. There's also what's called an RNG biodiesel. They make it out of biomass cogeneration. They turn it into a product. And Supervisor Carlin and Turnbull are working with our OWPR staff in order to bring that into play, because every source of green waste throughout the county, there's so much of it that we got to get all these projects going to start digesting it and getting it into a better form than it is. We don't want it to burn up. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris and David. Bruce, the microphone. Someone hand Bruce a mic. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Sean, thank you.
I'm sorry. I was looking. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah.
Easy right monitor. I also have a question about the CAL FIRE grant. So very good, and so on. CAL FIRE in the past, we haven't been able to get information from them on what they saw this week about our grant applications to get it tonight. It'd be really nice if we could somehow either figure out, rather than just guess as best we can, we get information on what they would like to see who can make it better.
Can I respond?
Well,
I
ready,
just wanted to tell people that, you know, I
Sure we do.
before. Case got rejected and multiple times thereafter. On the 5th try, which is many years, I get it, $500,000. I was surprised. What I was saying about be patient and do a better job isn't necessarily that I got some feedback from them, which I did get some feedback from them because they talk to you and they can explain. But what it is that I feel as an author, I got better. Making sure every field, every year is filled with information. You leave no fields empty. You give a response no matter what. And that's the way you can be successful. And that's what I wanted to let you know it can happen.
right. Well, and since the question was asked about CAL FIRE, maybe I can have Megan address and Chuck's question, not.
We are not the ones who support this. And I think there's a lot of factors such as other projects that were out of that round and how much stuff around. Do you make an intent? Right, the grant out. So with all those things taken into account, your answer, but if you have. Maybe on things like this, I think will.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate it. That was a good question. All right, other comments? Public comment? Yes, in the back.
Hello, my name is Doug Sam, I'm a business owner now, and I was excited to find the product that's like called with the mission of the group and help homeowners build their home to a property. We found an all natural EP approved fire suppressant that was clear. And I watched it at the El Dorado County Fair, so the B-minus sitting there. And it is a food grade substance. It doesn't hurt landscape or animals or live crops, livestock, cattle, horses, pets. And so I was excited to bring that to our channel this year's wildfire season. It does not replace defensible space at all. We fully support and promote and practice defensible space 100%, no shortcuts. And this is just merely a secondary line of defense to help and against wildfire. So we have colored flyers here to share with the wildfire safety councils. As if you're nice to do one, if you'd like to give a business card, I can send you all that with the downloadable shareable flyers. We're glad to answer your questions.
Great, thank you. And certainly while the Fire Safe Council doesn't sponsor or endorse any product or service, we're certainly open to getting the information exchange so folks have access to what's out there. So thank you for that. All right, any other public comment here in the back? Make sure she has a microphone.
And I'm sure a lot of you saw the dinner out for us is for a tri-tip dinner. Ticket that gives you an entire tri-tip, bacon, barbecue, beans, salad, rolls for borscht, literally being.
Okay.
How you go? No. And then. A lot of times they have to work full time. That's just pretty much impossible. So unless that we finally got our medic back here in Diamond Springs and they cover such a wide area with stations being closed, so we really like to go ahead and keep that up. So I have flyers, if anybody was interested in taking those or hands them up or giving them to a friend, I also have tickets. Interested in buying one of those, like I said, it's $60. And then separately, you may have seen a mailer that went out to pretty much everybody locally. This is donations instead of or in addition to. So if you did see that, it's not spam, I promise. It's literally just trying to help fund the paramedic scholarships. I have those. If anybody's interested.
Great, thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Others, anybody else? Right, looking online, don't see anybody with hands up online. All right, with that, believe it or not, it is 11:40. That is the conclusion of the Fire Safe Council meeting. Our next meeting is August 16th. Everybody stay cool and safe. Thank you.
This is that, just so you know, this is that screenshot